China is preparing to launch what could become its first truly reusable orbital rocket. Or at least that was the plan. Earlier this week, China aimed to carry out a historic mission. Its first orbital attempt to recover a booster, marking a massive step toward reusable rocketry. But instead of liftoff, the long-anticipated test was scrubbed and then quietly pushed back with no public explanation. Commercial launch company Landspace had been set to fly its stainless steel, reusable, medium-lift JKS-3 rocket from the Dongfang Commercial Space Innovation Test Zone at the Zhuque Satellite Launch Center late on November 28th, Eastern Time. Strong upper-level winds forced the team to shift to a new 2-hour window running from late November 30th Eastern into early December 1st. Then suddenly, early on November 29th, Chinese media announced that the ground crew had stood down entirely. No new target date, no hints, no revised plan. Even the airspace closure notices, normally the biggest giveaway that a launch is imminent, were canceled. And since then, no new notices matching the mission profile have resurfaced. Interestingly, JKS-3 could have flown much earlier, but its schedule became entangled with a chain of crewed Shenzhou mission events at Zhuque. The rocket was initially expected to launch soon after the planned late October liftoff of Shenzhou 21 and the early November return of the Shenzhou 20 astronauts. However, the Shenzhou 20 return was abruptly delayed after engineers found suspected space debris damage to the spacecraft. That forced mission managers to reassign the Shenzhou 21 capsule to bring the Shenzhou 20 astronauts home and to prepare an emergency launch of Shenzhou 22. Those unexpected mission changes appear to have pushed the JKS-3 debut further down the queue. Even so, the delay hasn't dampened enthusiasm. China may need a few more days, or weeks, to launch its first reusable rocket, but the anticipation around this mission continues to grow. After all, this is the same rocket Elon Musk has reportedly suggested could one day outperform SpaceX's Falcon 9. I'll get into why later, but first we need to break down exactly what the JKS-3 really is. JKS-3 is a large, reusable, liquid-fueled launch vehicle built around a 4.5-meter diameter core, topped with a 5.2-meter payload fairing. In its initial Block 1 configuration, it stands just over 66 meters tall, weighs roughly 570 tons at liftoff, and generates more than 750 tons of thrust. Its first stage is constructed mainly from stainless steel and powered by 9 TQ-12A Methalox engines. Equipped with grid fins, landing legs, and a reaction control system, the booster is designed to steer, return, and perform a propulsive landing, taking clear inspiration from SpaceX's Falcon 9. In this early configuration, JKS-3 can place up to 11.8 tons into low Earth orbit if fully expended, or around 8 tons if the first stage performs a downrange landing. But its upcoming Block 2 upgrade will boost these numbers dramatically. When flown in expendable mode, Block 2 can deliver 21.3 tons to low Earth orbit. With a downrange landing, it can still carry 18.3 tons, and even with a full return to launch site landing, it can lift 12.5 tons. The Block 2 variant also swaps its 9 TQ-12A engines for 9 upgraded TQ-12B models, raising total thrust to roughly 900 tons. Landspace expects each booster to fly around 20 times, with the possibility of more after further certification. The second stage features a single TQ-15B Methalox engine, producing around 100 tons of thrust. Once fully realized, the Block 2 version of JKS-3 will stand 76.6 meters tall and weigh about 660 tons while fueled, though both stages will keep the same 4.5 meter diameter. The 5.2 meter fairing remains unchanged, splitting into 2 halves to deploy payloads in orbit. Elon Musk recently commented that JKS-3 surpasses Falcon 9 in several key performance metrics, noting that Landspace combined elements of Starship, like stainless steel and Methalox propellants, with a Falcon 9-style architecture. In his view, that hybrid approach could allow the rocket to outperform the Falcon 9. However, he emphasized that Starship remains in a different category entirely, suggesting that even if JKS-3 eventually overtakes Falcon 9, SpaceX will already be flying Starship at scale. JKS-3's development has been remarkably fast and successful. Over roughly 2 years, Landspace completed a series of hop tests, culminating in a 10-kilometer flight featuring an engine relight and a powered landing in September 2024. Soon after, the company conducted a 45-second static fire test using flight hardware that included an integrated second stage. Many of the rocket's related components have already flown on Landspace's JKS-2 and JKS-2E launch vehicles, speeding up testing and verification. Beyond JKS-3, Landspace is also developing a Starship-class vehicle known informally as JKS-X. This much larger launcher will rely on a new 200-ton thrust Methalox engine called the Lynx 20. By September, Lynx 20 had completed more than 30 test firings and reached about half of its intended thrust output. The delay of the JKS-3 flight also comes as China implements new policies reshaping its commercial space industry. On November 29th, the China National Space Administration, CNSA, announced the formation of a dedicated department to oversee the country's rapidly expanding commercial launch sector. This move followed the release of a new action plan designed to better integrate private aerospace activity into China's broader national space strategy. In recent years, China's commercial space companies have achieved milestone after milestone, driven by favorable policies, new technological advancements, rising market demand, and increasingly tight collaboration across the aerospace supply chain. According to CNSA, more than 600 commercial space companies now operate in China, and the sector's potential continues to grow while maintaining a strong focus on safety. CNSA also unveiled an action plan for 2025 through 2027 aimed at ensuring high-quality growth across China's commercial space activities and further integrating private companies into the nation's overall space development framework. But the race to launch China's first reusable orbital rocket is heating up fast. Alongside JKS-3, 2 more contenders are now at the Zhuque Satellite Launch Center, preparing for their own historic flights. On their pads stand the state-owned Long March 12A and the privately developed Tianlong 3, both designed to support China's push into massive internet satellite constellations and to compete globally on rapid, low-cost launch cadence. Both Long March 12A and JKS-3 are targeting December launch attempts aimed not only at reaching orbit, but also at returning their first stages to Earth, touching down roughly 400 kilometers downrange. Around November 25th, the Shanghai Academy of Spaceflight Technology's Long March 12A was spotted en route to its launch pad at Zhuque, its first public appearance as a fully assembled vehicle. The rocket burns liquid methane and liquid oxygen and uses 2 stages, each 3.8 meters in diameter. Its first stage is powered by 7 Longyun engines developed by Zhuque Union, while the second stage relies on a single vacuum-optimized YF-209 engine. Together, they're designed to place up to 12,000 kilograms into low Earth orbit. The booster is meant to be recovered through a controlled propulsive landing using 4 deployable landing legs, with grid fins providing aerodynamic control during descent. Very little detail about Long March 12A's development has been publicly released, leaving large parts of the program wrapped in secrecy. In January, the rocket completed a mostly successful high-altitude hop test, though software issues affected the splashdown phase. A second-stage static fire followed in Haiyang around August, and in November, its transporter Erector rolled into Zhuque in preparation for integrated testing. Meanwhile, Zhuque Yunjian's ongoing work to validate its Longyun engines for reusable operation has been one of the few parts of the program visible to observers. Because Long March 12A's development has been so opaque, it's unclear whether the rocket at Zhuque will undergo further tests, such as a full-duration static fire, before its first flight in December, or if the upcoming launch will instead serve as the final verification milestone. Tianlong 3, China's other major reusable contender, is also built with recovery in mind, though it isn't expected to attempt a landing on its debut mission. Developed by private aerospace company Space Pioneer, Tianlong 3 is a medium-lift orbital launcher designed to offer lower-cost, partially reusable access to space. Its first stage is built to perform autonomous vertical landings and is designed for up to 10 reuses, positioning it as a serious competitor in China's rapidly growing commercial launch landscape. Built for medium-class payloads heading to low Earth orbit and sun-synchronous orbit, Tianlong-3's first stage is powered by 9 Tianhuo-12 Kerolox engines. Each engine produces 1,350 kilonewtons of vacuum thrust with a vacuum-specific impulse of 335 seconds, and 1,090 kilonewtons of sea-level thrust with a sea-level specific impulse of 285 seconds. They can throttle between 40% and 110%, operate on a gas generator cycle, and gimbal for steering. The first stage's propellant tanks, 3.8 meters in diameter, use a triangular grid-stiffened structure similar to the design Space Pioneer used on Tianlong-2. The second stage features a single vacuum-optimized TH-12-volt engine. Tianlong-3's standard payload fairing measures 4.2 meters wide and 12 meters tall, supporting spacecraft up to 3.8 meters in diameter and 10 meters in height. A larger fairing option, 5.2 meters wide and 14 meters tall, is also available for oversized payloads. After departing Zhangjiagang on November 7th, the two-stage Tianlong-3 arrived at Space Pioneer's facilities at the Zhuque Satellite Launch Center before November 18th. The rocket has since been fully assembled and positioned on its pad. At Zhuque, Space Pioneer has built out a complete ground support complex, including a horizontal assembly building, propellant storage tanks, fueling hardware, a flame trench beneath a launch table equipped with a transporter erector tested in July 2024, and 2 large lightning towers. Space Pioneer plans to expand its Zhuque operations even further, ultimately enabling 2 simultaneous launch campaigns and up to 60 launches per year once a second pad is added. With a flight-ready vehicle now vertical on the pad, the company can begin full-scale readiness testing, loading the rocket with kerosene and liquid oxygen, potentially culminating in a short-duration static fire. Fully fueled, Tianlong-3 weighs about 590 tons. If performed, this upcoming static fire will mark the rocket's third ignition, following a successful ground test in September. All 3 of these rockets, JKS-3, Long March 12A, and Tianlong-3, share a common design philosophy. They are medium-lift, 2-stage vehicles whose first stages are built for repeated use, typically targeting 10 to 20 flights. It's a strategy directly inspired by SpaceX's breakthrough with Falcon 9, which proved that reuse can drastically cut launch costs and massively increase flight cadence. China's path toward that same capability hasn't come without setbacks. Last year, Tianlong-3 unexpectedly lifted off during what was supposed to be a static fire test, taking flight without authorization before crashing into nearby hills in a fiery explosion. Space Pioneer later determined that a faulty connection between the rocket and its test stand caused the accidental liftoff. Landspace has dealt with its own issues as well. Its JKS-2E rocket failed during its third flight in July. Although the company reported that the malfunction was unrelated to JKS-3, the 2 vehicles share similar second-stage engine designs, keeping analysts alert as the new rocket approaches launch. And earlier this year, China's state-owned contractor conducted a vertical takeoff and landing test of the Long March 12A, reportedly reaching 70 kilometers in altitude. The results were never released publicly, prompting speculation that the test may not have gone entirely as planned. All of this is unfolding while SpaceX's Falcon 9 continues to maintain an unmatched launch cadence. Dozens of flights every year, powered largely by the constant deployment of SpaceX's own Starlink constellation. Now, China's private and state-backed launch providers are racing to build similar capabilities to support their own planned broadband mega-constellations. SpaceX still dominates the world in operational rocket reuse, but China's rapid advancements are steadily narrowing the gap. If both Tianlong-3 and JKS-3 manage to reach orbit and demonstrate reliable booster recovery, they would give China medium-lift launch capabilities far better aligned with the nation's aggressive satellite deployment goals. Reusable rockets are quickly becoming essential, not just as commercial workhorses, but as strategic national infrastructure. For the United States, the question is no longer whether China can replicate the Falcon 9 model, but how rapidly China can scale these reusable systems to meet its broader economic, technological, and military objectives.